Hey, Facebook. Good morning to you. Happy Tuesday. Hope you're doing awesome. Welcome. Good morning. Sorry, no sunrise this morning. It was a bit cloudy. The sun's up right now, but I don't think there was a sunrise. It looked a bit cloudy, so I apologize. Try to get you that beautiful Florida sunshine, show you that awesome sunrise, and I'm fortunate enough to live close enough. And if you don't have a sunrise, what I do is I take a look at the people who are doing the sunsets, who are filming and posting pictures and videos. I don't really have much of a view for a sunset here, but we get the sunrise, so I think that'll be good enough. Anyway, welcome. Good morning. My name is Mark Avens, and this is the Daily Dose. We're in episode number 37. Today, we're going to talk about what would I tell my younger self. So my first question to you, and I'm going to ask that a couple of times. We'll see if anybody comes on live. Just wanted to say thank you. Lots of good things going on in this world. Well, it's easy to get kind of turn towards the things that are not so good, maybe the discouraging things in the world. There's lots of discouraging things, lots of discouraging people, and I'm not going to be one of those, just to let you know. I want this to be a time of encouragement for you. So when you come on here, just so you know what you're getting yourself into, is a daily dose. This is the 37th day straight of encouragement. I'm filled with encouragement by others, by my friends and my family and mentors and pastors and just people in my life. And I would say that's what I want and more in my life. I want more encouragement. And so if you're needing some encouragement, I hope this is it. We're going to talk about, so today we'll jump right in. What would I tell my younger self? Truly, like what would you tell your younger self? I know I'm going to share that in a moment, but really my question to you is, what would you tell your younger self if you were to go back and you had what was it like Back to the Future? If you were able to go back and tell your younger self something, what would you tell it? Now, I know initially what was happened, hey Briggs, what's going on, is what I initially thought of is all the mistakes, look at all the past mistakes, poor choices that I made from way back, I mean, thankfully enough, my parents disciplined me well, and they did provide discipline. So I know that I'm not really going to go back because they corrected the path. But I'm talking about when I was an adult, as an adult on my own, living my life, and pursuing my dreams, so to speak, is what would I be telling myself right now? I'd be looking back at those mistakes and say like, oh, if I didn't make that decision, poor decisions, or if I wasn't didn't make that poor judgment, or gosh, if I didn't get in that poor relationship, those types of things, it'd be pretty easy to go down the thought and mindset of thinking of those things and like, oh, I would change that. And it's kind of like in going back into regretting. And, one of the things that I try not to do too much of is to look in the rear view mirror, to look behind me. I want to reflect on the things. And what's really amazing is looking back on some of those really poor choices and mistakes and things that maybe I'd tell myself, if I were to able to go back in time and do it over and tell myself again, and say, oh, you shouldn't have dated that person. Oh, you shouldn't have made that business decision. Oh, you shouldn't have invested your time and effort into these types of things. But I will say, no regrets. So one of the other things I want to share with you in this is what I think today, like right now, as it's so easy to want to like, oh, if I could just go back and not make that dumb choice or maybe not pursue that, is the biggest thing that resonated with me when I was thinking of this and doing this message with you. Good morning, Lonnie. Good morning, Carolyn. Appreciate you for being here. Thank you so much. And just so you know, on a side note, if you want to get notifications, I come on live at 8 a.m. every single day. Daily dose of encouragement. That's truly what it's about. This one, we're going to talk about what you would tell your younger self. And then you're like, well, maybe not, because I'm not living that right now. But one of the things I thought of, I've been thinking about and just recently is wisdom. So one of the things I would tell my younger self, and I have a story, so you want to hang on. I have some stories that they're good. Hey, Vicky, good morning to you. Good morning. Yeah, the sunrise didn't come up. It is up now, but I wasn't able. I walked outside and it was all cloudy, so I didn't get down there to show off the sunrise. Again, that's just showing off God, right? Like at the end of the day, that's not my sunrise. That's God's sunrise. It is for us to enjoy and appreciate and know that there's another beautiful day. Also, apparently there's some meteor shower that I wasn't up at 2 in the morning or 1 in the morning. But anyway, back to my point about wisdom is one of the things that I was thinking of. I'd tell myself, my younger self, the most important thing I would tell my younger self is to seek wisdom. To seek wisdom. Not just knowledge. I'm not talking like just knowing things and learning things, that's very important. Head knowledge is very important. You want to learn as much as you can and be as knowledgeable as you can. I'm talking wisdom. And I have an interesting story to tell you before I share with you more about this conversation that I would have with myself and about wisdom. Is when I got out of college, it was really kind of like I was on my own in college. And then when I graduated, I moved to New York City. Made a poor decision. Moved there with a girl. That was one I'd tell myself, if I couldn't have. But honestly, that's how I ended up with my wife, moving to New York. If I didn't move to New York, making that poor decision, it would have not ended up probably in the decision that I made, meeting my wife. But with that, hey, good morning to you. Good morning. Hey, listen, on a side note, before I get into that, because it's a really good story, thank you, Vinny and Dawn and Michael. Appreciate you for being on here. And Cindy, thanks for watching. Is I noticed that actually Facebook just made an update. I saw they're making updates all the time, and I've actually done like interviews, more like Zoom interviews, but apparently I see on live. So if you do any lives, you can actually bring somebody on. So I'm actually going to have some guests, and maybe do it once a week or twice a week to bring on a guest, so we can kind of just go through the daily dose together, because there's a lot of wisdom out there, and it's kind of appropriate. As soon as I clicked on today, I saw that, and I was like, oh. That's great. Thank you up there. Thank you, Facebook gods, for listening, because I wanted to take some people on and do some interviews and things like that, sort of like podcast-ish. So with that wisdom, when I graduated college, I moved to New York. I made a pretty poor decision to move there with a girl. Didn't really last more than a few months together. It was terrible, but we're not going to go down that road this morning. I'm going to go down the road of my first job, my first position as a physical therapist assistant. And when I got to New York, it was in a hospital. It was at a hospital, but it was in their subacute. I worked in a nursing home, and it was in the subacute rehab department in nursing. It was a great experience. I wasn't really something that I had actually anticipated, but it was better money than going right into the hospital, because nursing homes, there's a lot of therapists and doctors and things that they don't really want to work around old people, sick people. But that was what I had, and that was what I got. And I would say the wisdom part came when I started working with patients, and I had spent a couple of years working side by side. My caseload would be 84-year-old broken, hip replacement. I'd have a 90-year-old, a 90-year-old stroke patient. I'd have, all kinds of patients that are older. And I had some really, really great conversations. Point is, with the wisdom, as I'll never forget some of the stories that they told me, the wisdom they shared, their experiences living in New York, living on this earth for 80 years. One of the things that resonated with me, and maybe it was partly why I took a direction of going more in prevention and helping people with their health and fitness journeys, is the one thing that really resonated a lot with me, the wisdom that I got from not just the knowledge, the wisdom of living life, was that they shared with me, if I were to go back, I would have taken better care of myself. I wish I had taken better care of my health. I wish I had taken better care of myself. That just, it's resonated. And that, I think, possibly was one of the reasons I really directed, instead of working with maybe older, sicker people, is helping people right now. It's why I think I have the program I have. It's a coaching program designed for people in their 40s and 50s, so that when they're in their 60s and 70s, it's not so hard. If they can make the steps now, things won't be as hard. Maybe your struggles won't be as hard. And I'm talking like in a physical sense. So back to that. So I got some great wisdom from those, the older residents, if you will, and people in the nursing home. In fact, my oldest patient was 104 years old. Cute little old lady. She broke her hip, and I remember working with her, and I remember what she told me about. She told me about she grew up in like old school Italy, old time, and where there was a bathroom, your bathroom was a hole in the ground, basically. Like, she shared with me, she's like, she talked to me like this. She's like, we had fresh food, so we had the fresh tomatoes and the basil, and we had, and I'm sorry, I don't do the Italian really well. And we had all the fresh ingredients. It was nothing from a can, nothing from a jar. It was all fresh. And you know what? There's some wisdom there, right? Like, think of that. There's some wisdom. That 104-year-old patient, that was just the cutest little thing. She had to weigh maybe 90 pounds. She broke her hip. It was one of my, I think of one of my most memorable experiences, that not only did she break a hip, but she had a replacement, was able to get back to walking again. 104 years old. Like, if there's hope. And one of the things she had is a little glass of wine they had ready for her. I'll never forget this. But she said, I took good care of myself. I was active. I moved. There was no gyms. There's no lifting weights. There's no diet plans. You just ate healthy, fresh foods. and you took care of people and you took care of yourself, and that's just the way it was. And that's some wisdom there, right? Like right now, think of the time we're stuck at home, stuck in this pandemic, and we're so self-centered, myself included. Hey, there's a selfishness in all of us, and I would say it's so easy to go down that road. But think of now where we, to some extent, there's some things in our lives we can't be self-centered. We just don't have the ability to right now. We're kind of in a, this lockdown state. But I wanted to share with you where some of the wisdom I've gotten, really the most valuable wisdom, really is from above. I've shared with you before my faith in God and coming to know this relationship. Again, it's not me to necessarily preach a religion, because I really don't even consider myself much of a religious person. I think of that more when I think of like religion, and trust me, I grew up Catholic, and not to knock any Catholics out there, by all means, we all, whatever your spiritual journey is, it's your journey, right? Not mine. My journey was I grew up Catholic and really didn't understand the relationship. But then when I came to an adult and wisdom, right, coming to understanding this whole relationship with God through Jesus, like that's the difference, is like here's a God and there's a separation from God from the beginning, and then there's this human that God put down on earth for us, and he went to the cross for us. And I think of, oh my gosh, like that's amazing, and he provided that so that there's a path for us to have that relationship with God. But anyway, on a side note, I want to share with you some of the wisdom that I've gotten from, I think the most valuable wisdom, even in the last couple of years, are from the spiritual wisdom I've gotten from Christians, other believers, from pastors, from mentors, from friendships, faith-centered relationships, faith-centered business. I put this shirt on. My business coach, who I've invested in this past year, and we got at least 2 or 3 more years together, I've invested into his coaching program. But there's a faith-centered core value system that I look to for wisdom for my business, to make sure that I'm running my business, and not that it's just successful, but it's run the right way, and that it holds true to the values that I have in my life. And I think that's, thinking of my now self, taking of my younger self, I think now when I'm maybe in my 60s and 70s, is telling my younger self in my 40s, you're on the right path. You continue down that path. And I hope I can look back and say, gosh, for the amount of poor decisions that I made a lot better decisions, than they were faith-centered. So I'm going to share with you a couple verses, and then we'll call this a day for the Daily Dose. So I just want to share with you some things, and you can look these up. What I love is I have a study Bible that helps share and explain some of the verses in more detail, and the story behind it, and who's writing it, and so forth, so on. And honestly, that didn't come overnight. I'm in this journey for about 10 years now, my faith journey, truly in the past 10 years. So like in my later 30s to now my later 40s. But one of the things, James 1:5, and I might have actually shared this verse before. James, great, that's just a great story in the Bible. If you look into James and look at the book of James. So James 1:5 says, if any of you lacks wisdom, all right, well, we all lack wisdom. I'll be the first to admit, if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given to him. Can I just drop the pen right now? That's all you need. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach. You all have the ability to gain wisdom from God. You just have to ask him. Ask him, God, help me. Help me. It can be helping you getting through the situation now. Give me some wisdom to understand, or at least not to understand, to just lean on you to help me get through this. That's leaning on some wisdom. And I'll tell you, what better way than to lean on the one who made all of this possible, all of it, all the good things. Proverbs 1:7, the fear, check this one out. Proverbs 1:7, I wrote 4 down, maybe 5. I might just do 2 or 3. Proverbs 1:7, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. I can definitely say now, I'm talking about fear like reverence fear, kind of fear for the Lord. The beginning is understanding the almighty, all-powerful, the everlasting Lord in your life. The beginning of knowledge comes from him. Like that's the kind of fear. Like I'm not afraid of God. I have a reverence for him, knowing that he is the most important, there's a blue jay right now. That's it agreeing with me. So that's a blue jay, and he's agreeing with me right now. But fools despise wisdom and instruction. One of the things I look back on, some of the worst decisions I made, some of the foolish choices I made, were because they just lacked wisdom. And this is not even in a spiritual sense. I made some poor decisions. Faith or not, I made some poor decisions, and a lot of that came from just not listening to, my parents told me, don't move into New York, don't move in with a girl, don't They gave me some wisdom. I didn't listen to that wisdom and instruction. All right, that's Proverbs. Oh, and now there's a crow and they're up in my oak trees. And a cardinal, a crow, and a black, and there's the crow. You hear the crow. There's the blue jay. And then you'll hear probably the cardinal. I don't know what they're doing. They're all mad. Or maybe they're chiming in. So check this out. I got one more. Or maybe two more. James 3:17. This is a really good. But the wisdom from above. So if you're catching me now, you got to go back and watch. What would I tell my younger self? And I would say all the things of regret maybe. Yeah, no regrets. But the number one thing is wisdom. And that's why I'm sharing a couple of verses of wisdom. James 3:17. But let's see if I can talk over this. But the wisdom from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, open to reason, full of mercy and good fruits, impartial and sincere. Now I'm going to say this. This is going to be a bold statement. If you think that by watching the news you're going to get wise, and by watching people who think of this, but the wisdom from above, if you think that's from above, chances are it's not. If you think of some of the wisdom or at least knowledge where by staring at the TV all day long and watching the news all day long, is it first pure, peaceable? Is news peaceable? Nope. Gentle. Is news gentle? Nope. Open to reason. For the most part, yeah, I guess you could probably say maybe a little bit of reason, but that would be just your more opinion. Full of mercy and good fruits, impartial and sincere. Well, all those things, if you look at it, and I think of where we sometimes feel like we're gaining wisdom from others, if wisdom, whether it's the news, and not just to knock the news, it's just from anybody, people in general, is if you're getting wisdom from people who are not peaceable or gentle or open to reason or full of mercy and good fruits and impartial and sincere, chances are it's not really probably fruitful wisdom. So again, you can go after that kind of wisdom, and that's your choice, or you can look at the wisdom that comes from above. So really, in my question to you is the not what would I tell my younger self, is right now, today, is thinking, how can I get more of that wisdom? So one of the things I just share with you in this, my pursuit to this is that I'm not almighty or feel like I'm a know-it-all. I don't. There's so many things I don't know. But I do seek to learn and to gain that wisdom from others who have walked on this earth a little bit longer, who maybe have walked with God a little bit longer, have a deeper, longer relationship. Those are the areas that I look for wisdom. Now, look, on a side note, and I share this because this is important, especially if you've been, now we're going to talk in a physical sense because that's my world. Now, as a health and fitness coach, one of the things people come into my Lean Body Breakthrough, that's my signature coaching program, and I work with men and women typically over 40 who are looking to lose weight, but not just lose weight, to get on a better path, to keep the weight off, and to do it without long workouts and impossible diets. And one of the things, they come into my space, they come into to gain knowledge from me, but not just knowledge, to wisdom, because I've done it already, because I've been on this pursuit with really thousands of other people in the past 25 years in so many different environments. Right now, my focus is on people in my season of life, typically 40s, 50s, 60s, where I don't want for your season down the road, 10 or 20 years from now, to be looking back and like, man, I really wish I took better care of my health. Now we're in this, this fourth generation of COVID, of, things. And back when it first came, I had 20 pounds on and I was really unhealthy and I smoked and, I didn't care. I didn't really make my health a high priority. And now we're in the third generation. I almost got sick the last time. And now, this and that. And then it's 20 years later. And then you're asking yourself the question like I'm asking, what would I tell my younger self? And you're saying, dang, I should have started sooner. So now, regardless of there being any kind of pandemic, let's just talk right now realistically. Right now, if you do nothing, if you make no intentional effort to help your current level of health right now, and I'm talking if you need to lose 30, 40, 50, 60 plus pounds, you need to start exercise, you need to start eating healthy, you need to stop smoking or start boozing so much all day long to numb yourself, or any kind of alcohol or medication or drug or any of that stuff. Again, and I know there's certain needs for drugs. I get that, right? My wife's a nurse practitioner. Yes, there's a certain need for depression and anxiety. I totally understand that. But I would say if you have the ability to make the choice now, just as we talk about with wisdom, I'm giving you some wisdom here from somebody who's lived, who's worked with people from all ages, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 104 years old. And when I hear the wisdom that I learned back when I was younger from older generation of people who said, I wish I took better care of myself. I wish I was healthier to fight this cancer. I wish I didn't have an extra 50 pounds because I know if I started back when I was 20 pounds overweight, I probably wouldn't be in the situation. I wish I invested in myself. I wish I invested in a coach, invested in somebody who had the wisdom and knowledge here. My deal is not to sell people onto my program to get them into coaching with. My deal is to get them, sell them into investing in themselves, whether it's with me or not, to say it is going to be beneficial and it's going to be a wise choice to take better care of yourself. So you're not looking back and regretting or saying, man, I wish I told myself when I was in my 40s to get my butt back in shape, get my butt back on a bicycle or getting him walking or starting to eat healthier. And now look, not only is my life affected, now the life of my family members, my children, because now my children have developed terrible habits that I bestowed on them at a young age. Now I have a feeling my grandchildren are going to be ending in that same predicament. Like here, that's what I start to think. I think in the big picture, and my mission is not just to help people to lose weight, to help change lives. Like I want to help change people's lives. Part of me doing this daily dose of encouragement is to encourage you to take one step. It can be a little tiny step. It could be just encouraged enough to have a little bit of hope. A little bit of hope is all you need to take the next step. And if you gain a little bit more hope from that, you take another step. And who knows, now if you were to look 10 years, say you're 47 like me, and in 10 years, I hope in 10 years I can look back and say, man, you know what, there probably, and I'm going to make some mistakes for sure, is that I'm really glad that I seeked out the wisdom that I gained from others. I'm glad I seeked out the wisdom from God to help me get through this. I'm glad I seeked out the wisdom to make sure that my stress levels get handled, not get pushed down, or my health status get pushed down and say, I'll deal with it once everybody else is taken care of. The reality is, it's going to be hard for you to take care of others if you can't even take care of yourself. And my hopes and desires, if you need help and you know that I'm here, and you're saying it's time that you reach out to me, not wait another month or wait another year. Or maybe you worked with me before, or maybe you had a little effort and help on in the past, and now you know you're getting older, it's getting harder. You don't know how to work out for the age you're at. You don't know how to work around the limitations, maybe of some injuries, past things. You don't, like on a physical sense. But just in general, seek out the wisdom, be it physical, emotional, mental, financial, whatever it is, your business, whatever those things, seek out the wisdom. Those are the things. What would I tell my younger self? It would be to seek out wisdom. And I just hope and pray that you do as well. So listen, this is the Daily Dose with Mark. Again, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. Sometimes we go, I get kind of fired up. I get inspired. I'm so inspired by you. I appreciate each and every one of you for spending, even if you only came on for a moment. If you're just catching this, go back and watch it. Trust me. This is not me here just to shoot the breeze with people. This truly is the difference in me helping 1,000 people. I've put a mission statement for myself in 2020 is that my impact last year was helping, and I'm sure on a side note more than probably, but I would say is direct relation with people is 300 people in the past years to help them. My goal this year, I got encouraged by my coach, my mentor who's provided me wisdom, the investment I've made in my coach to help encourage me to know that my job is not done, that I can encourage others to get them on a healthy path. My job is this year, 2020, to help over 1,000 people. And I hope, a year from now, maybe 2 years, it's 5,000, maybe 10,000, who knows? The ceiling has been ripped off the roof. And if you can just understand this right now, you have the ability. Don't set your ceiling for your health down here. If you're like, okay, I'm too old, it's too late, I can't get healthier, I can't lose the weight, I don't know what to do, I failed so many times. There's no light at the end of the tunnel as far as seeing any kind of solution. Trust me, I've heard that before. You're not special. I've heard the same thing before. Do yourself a favor if it requires you needing to make an investment to reaching out to get some help. If you need to reach out to me, do so. My program isn't the right fit for everyone. Again, you might have to search around for it, but I can tell you, whether it be health, seek out the wisdom, get yourself the help. You're going to thank yourself 10 years from now when you're saying, oh, I'm so glad that I invested in that coach and I invested in myself and in my health, because now 10 years later, I feel 10 years younger. Now I'm 57 and I don't even feel 47. I feel like I'm in my mid-30s. I can tell you with all honesty, maybe going on a little side rant here, but in all honesty, at 47, I feel, and I can't say, you have to be the determining factor of that if I don't look 47. I would say is I feel like probably early 30s, mid-30s. I truly do. I think obviously there's a mindset there. And it's not to brag, it's just to know that I don't feel like a lot of people I hear say they feel and say, gosh, like, I feel like a grandma. And they're like 40s. Come on. It's time to take another step forward. And I hope this encouraged you. That's all I have. I could probably talk for hours. Take care and God bless. I hope you have an amazing day. Listen, Daily Dose, all I ask in return for this, if you found value in this, share this with somebody. Share this on your page. Share this with a friend. It's okay if you don't. If this is just for you and you needed to hear this today, I just wanted to say thank you. Come on tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., Daily Dose. Sometimes I go longer. I think this one was 20 minutes. We'll see you later.